the abilities that I naturally had kind of all came together within interior design. And I was constantly searching for something that I would fall in love with. The colors do come easily to me. Prints, not trying to match prints or trying to experiment with it does come easily to me. My job is to make people feel at home or happy wherever they dwell. I think as an interior designer, that is the gift that you can give people. It's my job to really listen to what the client wants and then try to deliver that in my own special way.
Thank you for joining Tide, a business tips and triumphs series. On this show, we feature creative women entrepreneurs and uncover their secrets to success. I'm your host, Leanne Tasher, and it's my pleasure to introduce our next guest. Now, let's welcome her to the podcast. Can you say a little bit about yourself and your professional background?
Thank you for having me. And sure, I'll just quickly say that although I'm an interior designer, I was not the type of child that knew exactly what I wanted to do. But one thing I could say is that I always knew that I wanted to love what I do because I realized that you kind of spend the majority of your time working. So my background is actually I studied sociology and I have a master's in psychology. And I do love working with people and trying to understand them more. I still do love that. But when I came back and tried to get a job in psychology, it was kind of hard. And I got thrown into a completely different element, which had to do with like project. I was a project coordinator. And it was a very good experience because I had to manage people. I had to do a lot of logistics and coordinating different projects. And I do think that that helps a lot in interior design. And I always say that my story basically is like when my mom and I decided to build a house together. And I do like makeup and fashion like most women. And I must say that colors do come easily to me. Prints, not trying to match prints or trying to experiment with it does come easily to me. So when we were building and you had to kind of select the tiles and the floors and the paint and whatever else, it was fun and it was quite simple. Would I do things differently? No, yes, because I obviously didn't have much experience then. And I find that the two, whatever you did, whatever I did in my past and whatever I currently naturally, the abilities that I naturally had kind of all came together within interior design. And I was constantly searching for something that I would fall in love with and stick to and really be happy with. And that was interior design. So that is basically the background of how I became an interior designer. I definitely studied online to do it, and I keep pursuing different methods to better my craft along with experience. But that is basically my background as to how I arrived to at interior design.
That's fascinating. How would you say that your background in psychology actually helps in this field that you're in now?
Well, psychology is kind of trying to understand human behavior and dealing with it, and gives you a perspective as to how things may affect how people are, how people were raised, people's perspective on life. And I think psychology, to be honest, is a subject that can run through many other uh, different other fields. So interior design is just one of them because you're constantly dealing with people, whether it is a client, whether it is a contractor, architect, different workmen, you are constantly dealing with human behavior. You also have the function of how interior design affects you psychologically. So your function, how you are in a space, different colors, how you want to feel, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, basically dealing with your behavior, how to make you function as best as possible. All of that, all of it is psychology. So to me, it goes hand in hand very well and very easily with interior design.
Just looking at you alone, I can tell that you're a very stylish person. I love the colors of the outfit and the hair. So, would you describe yourself as a naturally creative person? Like, even before you went into interior design, was your room always stylish? Were you always just a creative person in general?
I think my creativity would be like experimenting definitely with outfits, fashion, hairstyles, more so even than rooms. That might sound weird, but it's true. And I just like seeing different colors and seeing how different things will kind of go together. That fascinates me. Like when I see somebody and they're well put together or they do something that I would never think about, like outside the box, I find that very intriguing. And I do the same thing with interior design. So if I see a room, especially people who do eclectic rooms, I throw things together that make absolutely no sense, yet they look cohesive. I am fascinated by that completely. So I would say my creativity, yes, it was always there. Did I think that I had an avenue um to explore it? Not really. The reason why I say that is because I guess growing up I always thought creativity was like maybe drawing well or painting, and that is not actually really me. Like I'm not an artist, a visual artist in that regard. Also, like although I like fashion, do I like sewing? No. Do not put a needle and a thread in my hand. So to me, interior design, learning to draw on the computer, so people could visualize a space and then putting things together. It just brought every single skill that you think that you might not people might not appreciate. It just brings it to the fore, and it's very natural in that way. So I would say I didn't think that it was an avenue open to me, but now I can see absolutely where it has landed me and where I continuously want to go.
I'm really curious about what is your natural aesthetic in terms of interior design? What styles are you drawn to?
I would say, I must say that I guess I will call myself, to sum it up, I like clean looking spaces, right? I like that a person has room. I don't like too much clutter, and I like the space to feel kind of light and airy. Am I drawn to more modern aesthetics? Sometimes, but I do find that they're a little cold and sterile for me. So I like, although I can do them, if a person tells me to do modern, sure, I can understand it and I do it. But I still like, especially a residential space, to feel when I think of like my childhood home and how I grew up, it's never cold and sterile. It's warm, it is comforting. If I feel unhappy in some way, I could easily go back to that memory and it feels just like home. So to me, I still love some traditional elements, some character in there. I do love antiques. So I would say that I am drawn to something more transitional, which is a mix between the two. Do I like total tradition? No, because obviously sometimes that could look dated. So I do like a mix between modern and traditional, which is known as transitional. I love unique pieces still, and I love antique pieces still, but they still have to kind of look up to date and modern. So I am more drawn to that.
What give me a sense of what modern is. Like, is it a certain color scheme, a certain layout? Just a sense.
Modern is like very clean lines. So you would have like the house of itself or the fixtures of themselves. You would have colors that tend to be more sterile. So clean whites, maybe some grays. Also not a lot of curves in the like molding and skirting, very, very clean modern lines. And then you have to furnish that with the same aesthetic. So you would have sofas and um accent chairs and rugs that kind of go back into the actual layout of the space. So you don't have a lot of what I would say like total symmetry with matching cushions or florals or certain prints that are quite busy. So modern has no frills to it. It's a very masculine aesthetic. Men tend to be drawn to it. Some women too, but it's known to be a masculine aesthetic. So very, very clean lines, very little soft furnishings. Just it's very utilitarian, and that is more of a modern aesthetic, even down to the plants, where you have like a lot of flowers everywhere. Modern is like very clean, spiky looking landscapes. Even the exterior of a house, you see the homes now that have like a very square kind of look, but the windows don't push out or anything. They're very square. The landscape is very have succulent. That is all masculine. That is all modern, a modern aesthetic.
So does your ability to be kind of edgy, I don't know how to describe it, but you're very versatile in what you're able to produce. Has that become a part of your branding? What do your clients know you for in terms of when they're looking for
Yes.
an interior design? Oh, I'm going to call Melissa. Why? Why they call Melissa?
I think I would definitely say I'm versatile. I know some people are comfortable doing one aesthetic. I like trying different aesthetics. I do. That is just a part of my personality. And when it comes to clients, I want to give them what they are looking for, not just what I want. So for me, it's whether they work in a space or whether they live in a space, it's them that have to live there, and it definitely is not me. So I want them to be happy. If there is a case where they're telling me, like for instance, I might have a client who tells me, or they send me pictures and they're like, I want it to be more contemporary and I want it to be more upbeat and more modern. But then these fixtures that they are gravitating toward are not that. Then it's my job to kind of steer them back in that direction and just let them know, you are going toward traditional. And it is not already, it's not like in 5 years this thing will look um old or worn or old
Dated.
fashioned. It already does. It already is, right? So it's my job to kind of, this is what you told me that you wanted. Do you understand? Like try to navigate exactly what it wants. So for me, it is more about the client, I would say. I do want people, my job is to make people feel at home or happy wherever they dwell. I think as an interior designer, that is the gift that you can give people, whether it's working somewhere or whether it's living somewhere. So it's my job to really listen to what the client wants and then try to deliver that in my own special way.
Right. And I
Yeah.
can see that's where the psychology would come in too, because those are,
Yeah.
it sounds pretty straightforward, but those are delicate conversations because when people
They
get
are.
fixated on a particular image and it's like, no, I'm trying to tell you this, and then you have to kind of just, control the conversation. Okay, in my
Yeah.
expert opinion, this is what it is. And
Yeah.
then also there's the other aspect of now budgeting. Now they might have this vision of this grandiose room, and but the budget is small. So then you have to, how do you navigate
On
those
that
kinds of
job.
conversations? How do you manage the budgeting aspect?
I do tell people, or I would show people before anything is ever done. I also try to simplify the process. So let's say it's a room or it's different spaces. The best thing that I can do is, while I do the design, is to also provide a product list, which would include the costs of what these things are. I tell clients, because I understand, like, especially if you're doing an entire house in Barbados, how expensive it can be when you try, when everything pretty much adds up. So I let them know sometimes it's hard to get, I don't know why, but sometimes it's quite difficult to get somebody to give me a budget. If you give me a budget to work with, I will get it done for you. If it goes over, I will try to manage that expectation and tell you this is why, this is what's available on the island, etc. But sometimes it is hard to get a budget out of people. I'm not sure why that is, if it's cultural, if it's that they feel judged when they have a budget, but it is just a guideline. And I do get why it is important for people to budget.
Yeah.
And realistically, I can only give you what I can select here. I mean, if you're open to having overseas items, sure. And sometimes that does work out cheaper, because you could get cheaper items and sometimes the duty isn't too bad when you actually get it here. And if you're open to that, I am absolutely 100% open to that. So to me, it's just about being transparent. I do not purchase anything without the client knowing exactly how everything costs. So it's my job then to provide a breakdown of what you are paying for, where this is coming from, the size of it, and the cost of it. So you pretty much have an idea clearly of what is going into this space, how it will look, and how much it will cost at the end of the day.
How did you invest in your own business and what financial advice would you offer based on your own experience?
Okay, well, for me, I did something a bit non-conventional where I kind of left something secure and went to something insecure. Would I advise everybody to do that? No. You have to know your own what you can handle and what you didn't. The reason why I did is because I tend to be a person that needs a push. And if I get too comfortable sometimes, I may not take that jump or the necessary steps to do that. So I kind of pushed myself to do what I needed to do. And the truth is that I did say that I wanted to find something that I would love. Um, and I did want to own my own business. So in order for me to do that, let me take the leap, and that's exactly what I did. But I did have a job. When I left that, obviously I had some funds stored. I had a nice, lovely, fast little sports car. I had certain things that I absolutely loved. But for me, I can be a very practical person. And I also most of the time don't really care what people think, or I try not to care what people think, because at the end of the day this has to affect me. So for me it was sacrificing what people will deem as little luxuries or being seen and heard. It's a car, but at the end of the day, I just need to get from point A to point B, right? So do I need a fancy car in order to do that? That I am paying money out for monthly? No, I don't. What is more important? Is it the car or is it the business? So it's quite easy when you weigh the odds like that. It's the business. The business is a priority right now. This is where I want to touch people's lives. I want to serve people. So to give up material things is exactly what I did. Any subscriptions I had that were well, not meaningless, but not necessary, cut them off. Cut down. Do I need shopping? Not necessarily. I need jeans and a shirt in order to go to people's houses, to measure, to get things in place. I also cut down on skills. I learned to draw using an app, using SketchUp, so people could better visualize what to see. I obviously had to do my own invoices, do my own administrative work. So I kind of became my own everything, which is not easy. But at the end of the day, you kind of tend to know the business inside and out, which is what I wanted to do. So for me, it was cutting back on what people think are things that are important and that are really are not, and just prioritizing what is. And that is the route I took. I tried to spend as little money as possible while still trying to reach people. So that is the road I took.
I know oftentimes people say when you're now entering a new field, sometimes it can take a while before you get your first check. Was that your experience in terms of, I know you simplified your life so that you had some funds that you can start your business with.
Mhm.
How soon after that did you start earning? And was it easy to even enter into the field because you're new? Nobody knows Melissa at this point. So how did you actually do it?
I do remember being on the computer and trying to work out plans and this and that. And there was one point where it was just like, look, I am so tired. I need to get a portfolio. And I was still I didn't want to bleed out any more money. So I wanted to sell my car, and it wasn't selling. Like certain things just were not happening. I wanted to get business cards. I wanted to get my name out there, and it was not happening fast enough. And one day I just remembered, because sometimes I can definitely overthink things. And I said, just start simple. Get a business card. No matter what it looks like, just get one. And things just started happening one at a time. And then I remember my uncle had some apartments and they really did need some renovations. And I offered to do it under budget, right? I offered to do it under budget. And that was one of my first projects. I also took my own house and styled it up as much as I could, because the truth is that I picked the finishes in my home and I started using whatever it is I had first. And then one thing just led to another. I also started doing, I remember going on Facebook for sure and trying a leads farm. There's a ad type that helps you try to figure out leads. And that was really effective. And once I had those farms, and I just sat down and started calling people because they did fill out the lead form, which means that they do have an interest. And then I started visiting and measuring and talking to people. And then one by one, some did not pan out, and but some did. And then one by one, it just started to go after that. And I also didn't like any of those cards that I had, and I saw people doing construction. I just started leaving my cards. Um, and one thing just led to another. That's exactly how I started. I started with whatever it is that I had and just move from there.
That's powerful. I actually always repeat that to myself because when we have these big dreams, we always feel like there's so many things that we need to have to get started. But the truth is you can start with what you have, use what use do whatever you're able to do until you could do more. So I that's beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What would you
Thank
say is
you.
your dream client now? Now that you've established yourself, you have your name out there, what is your ideal client?
I think I don't have a particular person in mind. I think one of the greatest projects that you could probably, or dream project that you could probably have is to have like full creative range and a large or unlimited budget. That, that is a dream, right? Where the person says, you know what, I trust you. You know what, I can afford anything. And I just trust your vision, and you could just have
Yeah,
full
just have
reign. I mean,
fun.
the person, yeah, just have fun with it. What they could give me some pointers, and that would be an absolute dream. Like no limitations whatsoever.
How do you see yourself growing your business even further in the future?
I would love that. I think interior design, especially when I started, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you have to go on the West Coast." And to get into that market is very hard. It's only certain people that can do it and whatnot. But I do think interior design is becoming more and more accessible to people. And that's because it doesn't only have to do with an aesthetic that is luxurious. Interior design is about function, period. And as I said, about being comfortable in a space. And your space could be very small. Sometimes those are the most challenging rooms to do because you have to create space that isn't necessarily there. And I think the average person now sees the importance of it. I also think that because the world is so fast paced, that people need help. So my services become more of a convenience. Like when you might move into a new home and you don't have the time to sit down and visualize, and you just need like somebody to come and bring things together or somebody to source things for you and tell you this is what's available here and within your aesthetic. So I do think that interior design is being broken now. I think it's more accessible, and I do want my business to continuously be that way. Of course, they're custom projects, but I do try to design packages for people who just maybe want to, like Christmas might be coming and they want to spruce up a living room or a bedroom, or I have bathroom packages because there are a lot of older bathrooms out there that need remodeling. So everything, trying to make everything convenient and simplified for people. And that is definitely the direction I am continuously heading in. I do try to think for people and make sure that their life is simplified. I would love to also introduce products, but I'm not there quite yet. But I do want to do that and just be a like a one-stop shop for people who are thinking about home and comfort, um, and trying to live their best life.
What would you say is the main reason why clients should book M Designs?
I think I would say I bring value to the table, and I try to make your life simple, or as simple as possible, the process. And of course, making it aesthetically pleasing and functional as well. So if you are at home and you're kind of looking around and like I had a friend who felt kind of, I guess it was kind of during the pandemic, or we were now coming out of the pandemic, and she was just looking around and everything was so dark and gloomy. And because it was an older home, and she really just got tired of the space. And it might not even be that, but it's just that you want to change, but you just don't know where to start. So I definitely want to be the go-to person that people look to when they want to change a space. I do make things simple for you. That is one of my big selling points. So that you have an experience where you really, yes, of course, you have impact, but I want it to feel like a load has been taken off of your shoulders. And then when you are finished, that you are absolutely pleased. So that would be that's why I would love people to come to MDesigns Interior Services.
Yeah. And plus you're easy to work with, easy to talk to.
Yes.
Right.
Easy to talk to about anything. If you really say, Melissa, right now, I could afford this, but I can't afford. I completely understand that. Very easy to talk to.
Exactly. You won't be judged. Call Melissa.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Exactly.
Not
Yeah,
at all.
this has been really a fun conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. And it was such a great pleasure to have you here. So thank you so
Oh, this was
much.
awesome. I keep it up, please. This was good, honestly.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you've enjoyed this interview, please subscribe to Glamazine on YouTube. You can also find links to our guests' social media also provided in the description. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.